Hello Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be answering all of your questions about being a new mom. So I am officially a mother now. It's crazy to say that and so amazing. Being a mom is highs and lows. It is amazing, the most wonderful thing I've ever done, the most worthy thing I've ever done. It is what life is about. And it is also the hardest thing I've ever done. And I want to share with you guys all of it. I want to be honest about my experience as a mother because I think that it can be really difficult to see people seeming to handle motherhood with absolutely no problem and just thinking like, oh, it must be easy. Why isn't it easy for me? It's not easy. Motherhood is not easy, but it is so worth it. And I think that it's really important to talk about those things in the same way that it's important to talk about how marriage isn't always the easiest thing in the world, but it's worth it. Reading Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Rules for Life, or just maybe it's 12 Rules for Life, it teaches you a lot. One of the things it makes you realize is that life isn't just about things being easy. It's about finding meaning and purpose and fulfillment. And having a child is the ultimate version of that, finding meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. And it is not always easy, and it does not always make you happy when you're sleep deprived or when you haven't been able to do anything for yourself for 8 hours. But it's so amazing to know that you are raising a person and that person is yours. So that is a little summary of all of the thoughts I've been having, but I'm going to be sharing so much more about my motherhood journey. But I wanted to kind of start off this part of my life on my channel by answering your guys' questions about where I'm at now and what motherhood is teaching me and all of that stuff. I will definitely be doing a birth story video on my channel. I'm really excited to share that with you guys. It did not go entirely as planned, but it was still, something I'm really proud of. And I don't look back on it and think that it was traumatic or anything like that. There was a little bit of that feeling right after it happened, but oxytocin is a miracle hormone that makes you forget everything terrible. And I remember thinking at the next day after I had given birth, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do this again at some point in my life. I'm gonna have to do this a bunch of times because I want a bunch of kids. And now I'm like, yeah, I can do this again. And it's really funny where your brain just kind of is like, it was fine. It was a day and that's it. So that's kind of a funny thing, and I'm excited to share that story with you guys. But there were some questions specifically regarding our birth story, and I'm not going to be sharing all that much about it here because I'm going to be doing a whole video dedicated to it. But before I do that video, I'm actually going to be sharing that birth story as a podcast on my Substack. So if you are new to my channel, first of all, I would love if you would subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can follow along with my motherhood journey, as well as learn about being classic and embracing traditional values. So that's what we do here. It's not just motherhood content. It's definitely going to be a mixture. I love talking about dating and relationships, but I also love talking about marriage and motherhood. So please feel free to hit that subscribe button and join the Classic Crew. But I'd also love if you would consider subscribing to my Substack newsletter, where you will get access to a ton of exclusive content not available here or anywhere else. So I do a weekly article, I do a podcast, and I also have a book club and discussion threads. It's really cool over there. Right now, it's on pause because I'm technically on maternity leave. So even if you sign up now, you will get access to all of my other content, but your payments will be frozen. So you won't actually have to pay. So maybe check that out. It might be worth it for you to sign up now because I'm pausing everybody's billing so that nobody's getting billed for this period of time where they're not getting content. But it is a really cool place, and I'm planning on sharing my birth vlog there first. So if you want to hear it before anyone else, then sign up for my Substack. Okay, now let's get into today's video. Okay, so we're going to try and get through as many questions as possible in as short of a time as possible because now that I have a baby, I have very little time and I have to make sure that I am available when he's hungry or when he needs to nap or whenever he needs to play or when he needs to go for a walk or have a bath or whatever else it is. So I am kind of on a clock here, so we're gonna do this pretty quickly. So the first question is, how is breastfeeding? I just became a mom 9 days ago and breastfeeding is challenging. So breastfeeding is going really well, thank God, but it was not easy at the beginning. I had a lot of thoughts about that too. And I, again, want to share this in a different video, like 5 things I learned in the first 5 days of being a mom. But breastfeeding is not easy, but it's not your fault. It's the baby. The baby needs to learn. That's what I figured out. It's so much not about you, and it's really about the baby trying to figure it out. Initially, the nurses were like, oh, he's doing a good job latching, but I felt like I wasn't getting as good of a latch as I wanted to, and he was kind of sleepy, and it was a little hard when I was in the hospital. And then when we got home, when my milk came in, I got really engorged, and he just couldn't latch. It was just too hard. So I actually gave him a bottle of my pumped breast milk at like 3 days because he just was having such a hard time latching. But then the next day after having pumped, he was really getting better at it, and now I'm not pumping. I'm just exclusively breastfeeding. I will start pumping and giving him probably 1 bottle every so often just so that he's used to it, so that if we need to go somewhere, he can feed when I'm not around. But it has gotten so much better, and it's really something that I love to do with him, but it is not always entertaining. Initially, I was like, oh, this is easy. This is great. I can watch a show. I can relax while I do it. But he'll fall asleep at the breast, and if I want him to get a full feeding in, then I really have to keep him awake, which takes a lot of my attention, and it can be kind of exhausting. But I'm spending time with him, and that's a really special thing. But if you're having a hard time with breastfeeding, like, don't feel bad. It's hard for everybody, I think, the first time. I had the best lactation consultant. If you find that your lactation consultant is driving you crazy or making you feel bad, find a different lactation consultant, because the one that I'm working with, that I worked with, was a godsend. She was incredible. She made me feel so good about what I was doing and what I was trying to do, and it made me feel so much better. So definitely a really special experience and something that I'm enjoying right now, but it's also not easy at the beginning. Like, give yourself a little bit of time to adjust. Give your baby a little bit of time to adjust. What's been harder, birth or postpartum healing? Birth was harder. Postpartum healing was not so bad for me, thank God. I felt like it wasn't terrible. It was not comfortable, but it wasn't so bad. Birth was not easy for me, but it was, like I said in the intro of this, it was still really something I'm proud of, but it wasn't easy at all. Postpartum healing has been better. The postpartum period has been hard, or it was initially. That first week was really hard of adjustment, but now things are getting a lot better, and I'm more in a good place with it. Do you find it difficult to eat enough? I thought that was a very funny question, because yes, it's difficult to find time to actually get food and make food, because once he goes down, he doesn't always stay down, and then you have to pick him up, and you're trying to take care of him, and trying to prepare food is really difficult unless I wear him. If I'm wearing him, then it works, but I don't want to wear him all the time because I want to get him used to sleeping in the bassinet. So yes, it's difficult to get enough food. Have you had any stress breakdowns or depression despite all the support? Thank God I haven't had any depression. I wouldn't even say I've had stress breakdowns, but I've definitely been overwhelmed and felt like, what am I doing? How did this happen? What am I supposed to be doing right now? Why isn't my baby doing what he's supposed to be doing? But things have started to balance out, and it's all highs and lows. There are days where it's a lot harder. There are days where it's a lot easier. But something that my sister told me is just that every day is different. So don't expect anything to be the same from the day before. So if you have a good day, that's really nice, but don't expect it to be the same the next day. If you have a bad day, that's okay, because the next day will be different. I think that's just a really good perspective to have on motherhood. What has surprised you most about postpartum? That is a good question. I think initially I was surprised at how manual labor it is. In the sense of, you think, oh, it's recreational. I get to play with my baby. My baby's so cute. No. Yes, that's part of it. But more than that, it's I have to get him to feed. I have to change his diaper. I have to get him to sleep. And it's all very important that you take care of your child. And the playing and the enjoying of him is important as well. Actually, it's in many ways more important. But initially, I was in this mindset of I have to make sure he's eating enough. I have to make sure he's getting changed. I have to make sure he's sleeping enough. And it took the joy out of things for me initially, which was not the best thing for me. But it also, that is part of it, is that it's not just fun and games. You're trying to keep this little person alive. And I think that kind of shocked me initially with the postpartum experience. what's your favorite part so far? That's a nice question. I mean, when he sleeps on you, it's the cutest thing ever. And it's so cute. When he has looked up at me when I'm singing to him, I will just start crying. And then I can't finish the song. And it's really, it's just beautiful. There's a lot that's really special about it. Just holding him and enjoying him and knowing that he's my son. That's a really special thing. How has the baby affected you and your husband's relationship? Our relationship hasn't changed, but our dynamic, in a sense, has changed. Like, our feelings towards each other are the same, but we are just navigating this whole new life together. And so much of my attention is on the baby because he needs me. And that I feel guilty about sometimes, is that I'm not as invested in my time with my husband. I also recognize this is very much a stage of life and it's going to pass. But I think that the biggest thing is just kind of navigating your time and making sure that your spouse feels that you love them, even if you don't necessarily have that much time to give to them. And that has been a challenge for me, is just giving my attention to my husband, even if it's in small bursts, because you're tired and you're not as focused. But we've been taking walks together when we take the baby, or my mom has helped so much. Oh my God, I can't even express how incredible my mother has been. She's been here for a month. She will be here for a month. She was supposed to be here for 2 weeks, but then my baby got a cold, which was really scary. So she stayed for an extra 2 weeks while he recovered. And that was I'm so grateful to her, but it also has been such a blessing just generally having her here, because she can help take care of the baby. And she's been able to watch him so that we can, go for a walk or go to dinner just for an hour, so that we can have that time together. And we know that this is a luxury that we will not have when she's not around. So it's been really special having her here. But I think that the most important thing is having open lines of communication. We have talked so much during this period, just being really open and honest with each other, because it's easy to snap at one another when you're exhausted or when you just don't have the mental energy to spend on one another. And we've been so careful about trying to avoid that. And then if it does happen, talking to each other so that we both feel like, okay, it was just a momentary, whatever it is, and we're just tired. And it has nothing to do with our love and our marriage. So our marriage has been really good, actually, but slightly different in the dynamics of it. We don't have time to just watch a show together. Or if we do, it's like 20 minutes of a show and then I have to go. Has your baby shown any signs of his personality coming through yet? It's a good question. I mean, I think he's very sweet. He's a very sweet boy. And he is very stubborn in certain moments, but mostly he's just sweet. He's not a hard baby. He's really a very, very good baby, and I'm very blessed. Has Baby Roth brought your hubby and you closer together? So this kind of is like a follow-up of the last question, but yeah, I think in some ways he really has. We are kinder to each other. When we have those kind of I'm like in a bad mood, we forgive each other so readily and so quickly, because we know that we're both so tired and that we're both just working so hard to keep this baby going. So I think there's a lot that has brought us closer together. And seeing your husband be a father and him seeing me as a mother, it's such an attractive thing to care for a person together. And that has really brought us together. Have you changed your mind on anything since having your son? I mean, the only thing I've been thinking about lately is just I used to say you could have 10 or 15 minutes to do your makeup. No, you have maybe 5. You don't know when that baby's going to wake up and you're going to be half done with your face. So it's all these things of I didn't realize how much time you wouldn't have as a mom. And I think maybe that was something that I needed to learn. And I think it'll also change again. This is a phase of life. And as he gets older, things will get a little different. But it's funny. It's not time is now a huge commodity. Like taking a shower for me is taking care of myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need a shower. I just need 5 minutes. And that to me is taking care of myself. And it used to be like, oh, I'm going to take, 2 hours and go get my nails done. No, a shower is good. How to balance marriage time with motherhood. So many sacrifice one or the other. I think it's interesting so many guys are asking questions about my marriage because it is so important. It's something that we are focusing on and making sure to be really careful about because it is so easy to prioritize motherhood and then to make your spouse not feel loved. And so I really am trying to balance that and express it as much as I can to Jacob. I will tell him, how much I love him, and I will do my best to take care of him in small ways because right now big ways are just not going to happen. But I want to share my love with him even in small ways, just so he knows that he really is. He and my baby are like top priorities. But it's always really important. One of my philosophies is that babies are going to feel most safe if your marriage is strong. So making your marriage less important than your relationship to your child is a terrible idea. The baby's going to feel stable and happy and good if the marriage is good. So that's why we've been so intent on making sure our marriage stays strong even when he's this little, because he needs to know that his parents are happy and love each other and take care of each other. Is your baby up all night too? Not really, but getting him to sleep in the bassinet is not happening. So has the baby's health worried you in any way? I'm 13 and really inspired by your words. Yes, because he had a cold at 2 weeks. We went to the ER, we went to the pediatrician. He had a cold. It wasn't terrible, but it was really scary initially, and I was just terrified of having him sleep in the bassinet because he's so little, and I just didn't want him to have any issues breathing. So that was really, really scary. But he's doing so much better, thank God. Thank God. And I just feel really blessed that he's doing so much better. What is a typical day like now? What's changed, and what have you been able to keep the same? A typical day is totally different than what it used to be like. Waking up at 7:30, depending on the day, between 6:30 and 7:30, feed him, little bit of wake time. Go, oh, there he is. I think it's time for me to go feed him. Okay, it's been a while. I fed the baby. We gave him a bath. We put him down for a nap. So let's get back to these questions. But this is what I feel like filming is going to be for a while, is me running back in here after having gotten the baby down to sleep for a bit. So still got my baby monitor here. He's looking good. He's in the bassinet, which is exciting. Okay, let's get back to these questions. I probably got interrupted, and I'm sorry if I didn't finish it. I don't remember what question I was on, but let's continue. How was picking the name? So Jacob and I are pretty in agreement about names that we like. And so we came up with a list together and we just found one that we liked the inspiration of. We are not sharing his name online. We don't want people to know, but we love his name. We love his name. What items in your hospital bag did you actually end up using? And congrats. So tell me if you guys would be interested in seeing a video like what I actually used in my hospital bag. I feel like I used a good amount and I don't regret having packed anything. So if that tells you something, but I probably also didn't use a lot of it, but I'm still like not mad that I packed as much as I did. How has your perspective changed after becoming a mom? My perspective has changed in the sense that this is the only job that matters. My perspective has changed in that motherhood is the most important thing you can do, and it is the most time-consuming thing you can do. So anything that gets in the way of it, I'm less and less inclined to promote. I just think that it is the most important job I will ever have, and I'm going to make sure that I can do it as well as I can. But I also think that part of being a good mom is taking care of yourself. And it's something that I promote here on my channel, not the idea of self-care, but the idea of taking care of yourself. And I differentiate between those two things. I've done videos like that on my channel before, so you can check those out. But taking care of yourself so that you can be a good mom is really important. And if that means that you have an outlet like I have here on YouTube, then that's great. You just have to make sure that you've got your priorities in line. As usual, what's one thing no one warned you about that you feel expecting moms should know? So the thing I want to say about this is that I don't think anything anyone can say is going to change an expecting mom's perspective before she has a baby. Like, you just don't know. Being pregnant is all anticipatory. It's all about what's going to happen, and you don't even realize that it's that anticipatory until you have the baby and you're like, oh, this is what we were working towards. So I think the thing the most important thing to recognize is at the beginning, don't try and be a baby administrator. I said this on my Instagram stories. I got really stressed in the first couple days about trying to make sure he was eating and feeding and sleeping and all these things, to a point where I couldn't just enjoy him and snuggle him and love him and just let him be. And there's the stress. Really, the stress of breastfeeding can drive you crazy because you know that he needs what he's getting from you. And if he's not getting it from you, he's not going to get it anywhere. So that's a really stressful thing. And I think that it's really important just to remember that millions of people have babies and they survive, and you're doing your best and your baby's going to be fine. You just need to chill out a bit and give yourself the permission just to enjoy the baby. How did you prepare for the first few weeks before giving birth to ease the transition? The most important thing I did was I cleaned the house every single night before we gave birth, because I knew that there was a chance I could go into labor at any time, and I wanted to make sure that when we got home, the house was clean. That was the best thing I did, and I'm so glad I did it, because when we came home, the house was not a mess. The house is a mess now. So that's just part and parcel, I think, of not having very much time. But let me think. What else did I do? I mean, I read a lot of books about how to kind of get your baby on a schedule and do all these things. And I think there are really good benefits to being prepared, but there's also the knowledge that your baby is not going to just go to sleep in his bassinet. It's not just put the baby down and he'll be fine. You can't assume that everything you want your baby to do, your baby's gonna do. So I went in being like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna put my baby down in the bassinet and it'll be easy. Of course it's not easy. Babies don't want to be in a bassinet. They want to be in your arms. And I think that it can make you feel like a failure when you read these books that are like, yeah, you just do this. You just do that. You don't just do anything as a mother. Everything is always up in the air and you have to be really flexible. So I think that the biggest thing about motherhood is be flexible. Be prepared that nothing is going to go the way that you expect that day. And even if you don't get your one item on your to-do list done, that's okay. Personal care. I take personal hygiene really seriously, but I know some new moms who really neglect their personal care and hygiene, and it scares me. Tips. Take a shower every day. Take a shower every day. Even if the baby has to cry for a couple of minutes, he will be fine, but you need to take a shower every day. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel refreshed. Give him to your husband. Put him down for a nap. Put him in the swing. Put him in a chair. Just find those 5 minutes every day to shower. You will feel cleaner, you will feel better. And even if it's not about kind of putting on makeup or styling your hair, being clean makes all the difference. And if you have a spit-uppy baby, which I do, I have a happy spitter, you need to shower every day or you smell terrible. So definitely recommend showering every day. And you don't have to make it a long, indulgent shower. It can be 5 minutes, but it just makes such a huge difference. And every night when you go to sleep, take those couple of minutes to really take care of yourself. So, take out your contacts, brush your teeth, put on some lotion. And again, it doesn't have to take a long time for you to feel taken care of. I make sure in the morning, because it makes me feel put together, that I put on my makeup. And that is part of my to-do list. It is put on makeup. So when he goes down for his morning nap, he may not sleep that full hour or hour and a half that I want him to. He may only sleep for half an hour. So what I try and do is I go and I eat breakfast, I wash my face, I put on clothes, and I put on makeup. And all of those things need to take 5 minutes so that I can get it all done in 30 minutes just in case he wakes up. But it makes a big difference to how I approach the rest of the day. So taking a shower and making sure that you actually take that morning period and prepare yourself physically for the day. I think that makes a big difference. Also, taking a walk every day if you can makes a difference. Who do you think Baby Roth looks like more? Is it pretty even? I think he probably looks a little bit more like me, but he does have, a mixture of the two of us. I know it's early, but any funny baby stories yet? So, sort of. Every time we change his diaper, there is a risk that he will spit up poop while we are wiping him and pee on the wall or at you. And it's usually all three at once. They usually all happen at the same time, and you are kind of like, oh my God, this is crazy. And it makes me laugh hysterically. And I also think that it's fantastic because it means that my baby's getting everything he needs. He's getting enough that he's peeing and pooping and spitting up regularly and gaining weight like a champ. So that is all good. I'm always happy when he actually does all those things because it means he's healthy and he's growing. Does it ever get easier? So I'm still early, right? I'm 3.5 weeks out from having given birth. And even this early, I can say yes. Every week. It's like a week marker. Gets easier and easier and easier. You start to feel more yourself. You start to accept how flexible you have to be. You start to accept the new schedule. And it does make a difference. So yeah, it does get easier. What was the most unexpected change your body went through? I got stretch marks right at the end. I didn't think I would. I actually didn't get them for like the entire pregnancy, and then the last couple of weeks, I got a lot of stretch marks on my belly. And initially, I was really sad. And then I had the baby, and I could not care less. And I'm putting bio oil on it to just kind of make things fade a little bit. But I had a baby. Like, my body changed, and that's okay. I've also probably got about 10 pounds to lose. So I'm not rushing it. I'm planning on doing my daily walks, and I need to start eating healthier because at this point I'm just kind of eating what I can eat in those few minutes that I get them. I need to start kind of making a meal plan so that whatever I eat is good for me and good for my breast milk supply and good for the baby. But those are probably the biggest changes my body went through. And so I'm fine with it. I grew a healthy baby, and that's what was important. Are you feeling more exhausted or still excited about this little human you made? Excited. At the beginning, I was exhausted. I was really exhausted. But now, one of the things I've accepted is napping when the baby naps is not a thing for me, especially at the beginning. I think there's this huge pressure at the beginning when you have a baby to sleep when the baby is sleeping. And you have so many hormones, so many anxiety, so many worries. You're not going to sleep. So trying to force yourself to sleep is such a stressful thing. Now, some women might be able to sleep. I personally couldn't. I couldn't sleep, and it was stressing me out to no end that I couldn't sleep. And so I was also feeding the baby, putting the baby down, or giving the baby to somebody else. And I wasn't ever enjoying my snuggles with the baby. And so what I've learned is that if you're not going to be able to sleep anyway, sit and hold your baby. Hold the baby while he sleeps. That's okay. At the beginning, it's really fine. It's not going to mess up his sleep schedule. Hold your baby while he sleeps. And if you can't sleep, that's the best thing to do because you're getting those love hormones. You're feeling so much better than trying to force yourself to sleep when you can't and feeling like a failure that you didn't sleep. So I was exhausted at the beginning and also trying to force myself to sleep when I couldn't. Whereas now I don't really take a daily nap unless I'm absolutely exhausted. And I do my best to sleep well in those few hours in the night that I can. We don't have a night nurse. I saw someone had asked if we had a night nurse, but my mom is here and she's been helping with the baby at night. So I know when she leaves, this is all subject to change because she's been really helpful in the nighttime with me, and so has Jacob. But we'll see how things play out. Okay, last question. I am 23 and I'm afraid I won't be able to easily slip into the role of a mother. I am told it comes naturally. It does come naturally in the sense that you will take care of your baby. Like that is very innate to us as women. All of a sudden you're like, okay, I know what I gotta do. I gotta feed him, I gotta change him, I gotta put him to sleep. Like those are the 3 things you gotta do, and snuggle him and enjoy that. But the first few days after you have a baby are so hard, and you just need to give yourself grace. You're tired, you're recovering from this huge thing that just happened with your body, and your life is totally different. It will never be the same. Anything that you thought you knew about life is not applicable. Like, you do not have time. You do not have the luxury of just chilling out or making yourself a beautiful dinner or anything like that. Like, it just will not happen. And you're okay with it because you have this beautiful child. But there's also like this feeling of, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And one of the things my husband said to me, which may sound controversial, but actually was very comforting, was I was like, what did we do? This is crazy. This is so much. I'm so tired. And he said, this isn't a choice. This is life. Having a baby is something you do, is something people do. And once you accept that, it's not like, oh, I chose to have a baby. We have this stupid notion nowadays that you can choose whether or not you have a child when 99.9% of women would like to have a baby. And those very, very few women have kind of made this question available to us of like, oh, do I want children? This feminist idea that so many women don't want children, and that's just not true. Most women do. And we then are put in this position of like, we get to choose because of birth control and abortion. No, you don't choose to have a child. That is part of living. That is the most important part of living. And once you accept that that's the case, you can be like, yeah, it had to be this hard. It had to be this difficult because this is what meaning is. This is what fulfillment is. This is what purpose is. And that's good. It's good to have those struggles so you can grow and so that you can do this thing that's so important. And yeah, it is the most important thing that I've ever done and that anyone can ever do, to have a child. And it is not a choice in the sense that it is part and parcel of being human. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. So, and it's great. It's amazing. It's made me so much more of a person than I ever was before. You don't know what life is until you're living it for another person entirely. So that's it. I'm a mom. And baby is sleeping well in his bassinet. I'm so proud of him. And that is today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you aren't subscribed to my channel already, make sure to do so and follow along for more of this kind of content, as well as my classic content and traditional values. If you're not following me on social media, it's at Classically Abby absolutely everywhere. If you're not subscribed to my Substack newsletter, sign up now. Now is the time, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!